contrastive color versus its background. That isn't that where you don't see a vase or a face. It's just this thing.
Oh, that, yes, right. Yeah.
That happens to me way too much.
But that's plain, I'm sorry.
There's a film, you talk about, while hearing you about paralogy, there's a German film that has won all the, not academic awards, called The Wave. That is this, I don't know if you've seen it.
I think I've seen it.
The one that the professor, it's about a teacher that has to talk about anarchy, and he gets the class of whatever dictatorship it is, autocracy, and he performs autocracy, and things get out of hand. On the part of
I haven't seen it. Now that you described it, I'll have to get it to see it. But the way
it's very new. I mean, it could be from last year, but it's recent. Wait.
So let's do a little bit of speech act stuff here. You did some of that with Diane, right? Mm-hmm. So instead of constatives, which are truth statements, you're getting what? There's no possibility for a constative. I mean, we could do it, we could fake it for a moment, but the whole time we're doing it, we've turned it into a performative. Look, I can be, this person.
I remember
springtime for Hitler.
Reading something about that. I forget who wrote it, but they said that there are no constative statements because any constative statement can be, you can say something like you can say the constative statement would be like the sky is blue. You can also say, well, I propose that the sky is blue.
Yeah.
So they're saying the same thing because by my saying the sky is blue, I am proposing that the sky is blue. So
and usually the proposal is to be proved, right or wrong.
Yeah.
So I want to link this up with Kant now. Okay, the notion that there is the undetermined, okay, links up with Kant's notion of reflective, indeterminate judgment. Reflective, indeterminate judgment. But he does talk about determinate as well. Okay, so this is coming out of Kant, but then it's coming out of a lot of other places as well. Now, when he's talking about postmodernism, he's not talking about a period in time. It's not first modernism and then postmodernism. That's generally the way it's, Fred Jameson talks about it that way, okay? No, he's talking about pomo or postmodernism has always been around. It's like where everything comes from. And it's the game, it's the pagan game. And it's the game played without rules. And it's the game predicated on the notion of time, of future interior. What will have been. And what will, it's the past in the future. Okay. Well, you can't do that, but okay, yes you can. You take the past and you say it's coming to us from the future. Heidegger talks about this. Nietzsche had already talked about it. But Heidegger talks about it in the seminar Parmenides. He's talking about aletheia, which is translated as the truth. But literally, what is aletheia? Unconcealing. Unconcealing. So aletheia is unconcealing, concealing. Unconcealing, concealing. Unconcealing, concealing. It's a constant sort of vibration back and forth. And so you see the truth, but you don't see the truth. Okay. It's somewhat announced by Heraclitus before. Okay, folks, say something to me. The book has been written in scandalous fashion. What is scandalous about it is that it is all rhetoric. Which means what? All opinion. All doxa. As opposed to this domain. Okay. This is opinion, this is truth. And so the philosophy philosophers are saying we're going for episteme, truth. And the rest of you are just talking about doxa, opinions. Okay, so then he's going to have to deal with this issue in terms of what is justice. How does one, is there an epistemic grounding for justice? A lot of people have tried to do it based on what? Nature, their understanding of nature. But please, folks, how can you understand nature if not going through your own nomus, your own noma, your customs and so on, the way that you have been developed as a human being? Okay. I mean, we all poop, that's our nature. But we have learned how to deal with it. I mean, this is what we're talking about, shit. Shit that keeps coming back. Episteme wants to get out of shit. It's a purification. In the sophist, that dialogue, it gets translated as a purification procedure. What the dialectical movement is to get rid of everything that's, it's sort of like Occam's razor, but to get rid of everything that is does not belong, to get to the essential aspect of it. And this is what he's very much showing. Okay, what does paralogy mean? Aristotle talks about it in the book Sophistic Refutations. It means, it's a non sequitur. What is a non sequitur? It does not logically follow. According to the logic. It's more so poetry, okay, which is predicated on tropologics. That's tropes. And that's the direction he's going in. Okay. In libidinal economy. Why would he have to do that? Because he's not talking about political economy. He's talking about libidinal economy. And what is libidinal economy? Anything can be attached to anything else. It's like the difference between Virgil's Aeneid and Ovid's Metamorphoses. Who is Proteus? Who is Proteus in the Metamorphoses? No one knows. You know, one minute he's a bowl of water, next minute he's a tree, next minute he's a bunch of sand. When is Proteus? When Proteus appears as a man, is that Proteus? But he can be all these other things as well. You don't know. Socrates hated that story, that myth. Derrida's structure, sign, and play is working out two kinds of discourse. He gets this in great part from Levi-Strauss, who was the structuralist anthropologist, right? Trying to really get the basic structures of cultures. And in Trieste Tropique, he just, it's not possible to do that. Okay. So he shifts at that point from being a structuralist into what was called post-structuralist. And Derrida's picking up on that quite beautifully. And he refers to mythomorphic discourse as opposed to epistemic discourse. The discourse, he says, of engineers. We need to talk about language games a little later on, but these can be seen as language games. So but this is mythomorphic discourse over here, okay? And it's what it uses for determining itself is what? Whatever is ready at hand. The person over here is called an engineer. This person over here is called a bricoleur. Okay? Two fundamentally different. I'm saying this right now, and then I'm going to unsay it. Forces at work in terms of thinking and examining the objects in the world. Okay. But what he says, finally, Derrida says, is this episteme, it came from mythomorphic discourse. And so many other things can come from mythomorphic discourse. He's saying the same thing in this book. But he's talking about different kinds of language games. There's a Moses game. There's a Parmenides game. Okay. There's the pay and so on. And is he coming out of Wittgenstein? Yeah. Wittgenstein stops, closes down the Tractatus with Proposition 7, Proposal 7, with about which we cannot talk. We must remain silent. And so he couldn't write anymore in that book. Okay. But the next book allows him, he begins with silence. Silence is a phrase, Regiment. Silence is a statement. It's not silence, where you're not saying anything else anymore. And that's when, in the book that follows in is the different end. He begins with silence. And then builds this entire new way to deal with these problems. So it's not, we can gain consensus, but it would require for us to kill a lot of people, or throw them in jail, or send them off to some penal colony, or whatever. Okay, but so it's not consensus, it's dissensus that is wanted. And in that, the methodology, the para methodology there would be paralogy. It's paras, that which is alongside. It's a prefix.
Yeah.
It's alongside logi, or logic, if you wish, or reason, or language, is fixed. Okay, it's what has been left over. So you use those excluded thirds to make something here, and to bring them back in. Okay. These impurifications, you bring them right back in. Or instead of using the word, because he says, I don't work with concepts. I don't work with concepts are all linked into identity, non-contradiction, excluded middle. So we can find another word, para, set. Okay. That which lies alongside. It's always alongside a concept. I'm sorry?
I just trying to filter this into my own, so I can understand it better.
Appropriately.
Yeah. So silence is kind of where he's starting from, and so that sort of goes to like an exploded notion of the episteme. Mm-hmm. And so I was thinking of silence, and I thought of John Cage.
Yeah, of course. He talks about it. He talks about him in the book,
exactly.
In Cunningham, in Dance as well.
Exactly. And so Cage's whole thing was the liberation of sound itself. And he did it through aleatoric, enforced aleatory, like random number sequences and stuff. So I'm just trying to think how.
Do you know Cage's lecture on nothing?
From
you have seen it
from the book Silence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
MIT Press. I remember buying it when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And I read it, and I thought it just broke up. And I started reading it to my friends, Mm-hmm. I am giving a lecture on nothing, and what I'm specifically going to talk about is nothing. And it's like Hemingway's a clean, clean, well-lighted place,
right.
Where he takes the Hail Mary, and he takes out all of the major words and puts nothing in there, hail nothing, full of nothing. Mm-hmm. So, nihilism?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Working out of nihilism. Nihilism has, bad press, but if you don't divide it up the way, or schematize it the way that Nietzsche did, you're not going to get much good out of it. There's passive nihilism and active nihilism. Okay? And then there is accomplished nihilism. And once you flip if you see only this, and you flip the gestalt, and you see this over here, which is what he's doing, mythomorphic discourse, doxa, opinion, the sophist, the possibility of being only in the dressy. I mean, there were conversations going on way before I got here. So I'm just giving you what I've heard and and the way that I might arrange them, okay, as a collage or what's the other montage. Okay.
What about Edgar Allan Poe's even further back, Silence, a Fable?
Yeah, that's good. That's one people don't know. In the End of the Perverse. I wrote my dissertation, first one on the End of the Perverse. Dialectics of the End of the Perverse. is just, it's a simple negative deconstruction, okay? It's like this. This is a negative deconstruction, where you privilege female over male, right? And then we can talk about an affirmative deconstruction, which goes to the level of freeze. You're out of the binary at that point. Because one of the failures of this kind of critique that's going on here is that it's just an exchange of power, okay? Mm-hmm. All right. And you can see this worked out in terms of Solanus in
Scum.
Yeah. That this is the male one, and see it's missing this right here.
Yeah, there's an identical chart.
So you can easily, this is turning tables. Okay. One is a penis, so she's a mutilated male. Okay. But why would you want to privilege that organ? Well, look what Rhetoric does. I mean, it's every cell is a sex organ, right? And talks about 2 lips, 3 lips, 4 lips, and so on.
But the clitoris is the penis.
Well,
but the clitoris is the penis in the embryo, so what's...
Well, that's a particular way of interpreting it that would upset a lot of females and a lot of just people in general. Not seeing it as a penis. Penis would not be the signifier. So then you go to floating signifiers. In other words, any number of other things could be signifiers, like genetic code. And see, this is perfect. This is female, right? And this is, well, part female, but boy, this is really screwed up. Mutilated.
Then you reversed what you just said when you preferred male philosophers male genetics to female genetics. Or you're...
Well, here it's not this. The signifier is the penis, right? This. We go around shooting everybody this way.